Hey, welcome back to the GM. I'm your host, Leon Boulanger, and today I want to hit you with a thought. And so, whether you listen to it now in January, or whether you hear it in February, or whether you hear it in March, it's going to be a relevant thought. And that thought is it looks like there is a player revolt uh, with the Baltimore Ravens organization. Okay. And the reason why I say this is you're hearing players speak. Uh, Directly and indirectly to some of the Baltimore Ravens organization approaches. When I call the organization, I'm talking about GM to head coach to offensive and defensive coordinator, right? Typically, you hear the Baltimore Ravens players speak about support or encouragement or lifting up, whether it's the offensive players speaking about the defensive players speaking about the offensive players. But you heard a couple of different times this year, and even a couple of times last year, where it didn't seem to be that same level of support or that same level of community, or as John Harbaugh speaks about it, as a family, right? And I understand families fall out, but this looks like a revolt. And I'm going to tell you what I mean. So you heard Marlon Humphreys during the year talking about, he made a comment in the context of doing the same thing over again, right? uh, and getting the same kind of result, which was giving up games late, right? You saw a Marcus Peters come out pretty strongly, go against pretty strongly John Harbaugh on the sideline. And of course, John Harbaugh smoothed it over. In the press conference, post-game press conference, and you never really heard that come up again. You saw Lamar Jackson tweet on a couple of different occasions some questionable commentary, not questionable as in his character is in question, but questionable as in he's in favor of what the Baltimore Ravens are doing. And then what kind of put the nail in the coffin as okay, this may be a revolt for sure is J.K. Dobbins' comments, right? J.K. Dobbins spoke specifically about the decision to put Tyler Huntley in the situation at the goal line where the ball is fumbled and the game is then lost. He spoke about not being on the field and how he thought he needed to be on the field. Now, this is pretty significant because we know that John Harbaugh says that he loves J.K. Dobbins. He talked about J.K. Dobbins' work ethic and J.K. Dobbins' character. So for J.K. Dobbins to come out and speak against the offensive philosophy and offensive decision making is pretty telling. We also saw J.K. Dobbins on the sideline, seemingly getting into it with Gus Edwards. And so when you're more um, quiet, hardworking, company type player begins to speak out, that speaks more to a revolution, right? A revolt, right? And so, but I think that the Baltimore Ravens are in danger of something much greater. Not only may there be a internal player revolution or player revolt, there may be an external player revolution. Let me tell you why I say that. And nobody has called it out, and nobody has said this. I think I'm the first person to say this out loud and make it public. But we thought that wide receivers not wanting to come to the Ravens were because of a system, or maybe not to play with Lamar Jackson, right? We saw T.Y. Hilton turn down the Ravens. We saw Smith Schuster turn down the Ravens. We saw Corey Davis turn down the Ravens, right? And then, of course, they brought Des Bryant in on his last leg, and then you heard him speak out against the Ravens. So we thought maybe it was a systematic thing, but no, because Zadarius Smith turned down the Ravens, a team that he knew and tried to come and get him. We saw um, the linebacker Bobby Wagner turn down the Ravens, right? And we can make it be about more money, but you're saying no to the Ravens brand. Think about it. Zadarius Smith chose the Vikings over the Ravens, a team that hasn't won anything ever in about 30 years. Bobby Wagner turns down the Ravens for the um, Los Angeles Rams, who's coming off of a Super Bowl but wasn't guaranteed to go back. These are significant signs, right? And then you see players who were in the Ravens organization go elsewhere and still be productive, right? Which shows that they were talented, but the system didn't allow them to be productive. Such as Chris Wormley, who now plays for the Steelers. And you got to be a dog if you play for the Steelers, right? You see CJ Mosley still being productive. And I guess it works out for the Ravens that he's gone, but still. He turned down the Ravens money and went to the Jets, a team that had never won anything. What we're seeing is a consistent pattern of players saying no to the Ravens. And the only major free agent signings that they've had really in the last 2 or 3 years was Morgan Moses, who now holds down the right tackle position. But when you look around the team, Marcus Williams, he signed, yeah. But of course, that's defense. But when you offer somebody $70 million out the gate, really kind of the first offer, they're not going to turn that down. But other than that, look at the last 5 years in the Lamar Jackson era. Not because of Lamar Jackson, I think because of the system and the way the organization moves in Baltimore. Now, am I saying that, Baltimore should let the players take over? No, no, no. I'm not saying that. But Baltimore has consistently not put players in the best position to be productive. And that's why it looks like the players that they draft in the first round, that's why it looks like they're not uh, a success. Marquise Brown wanted out the system, right? First round pick. Um, what's his name? Hayden Hurst left the system and still is productive. Matter of fact, he has banged him over the head a couple of different times in the matchups this year. Their first round pick that they let go for a second round pick to Atlanta is still being productive, right? And so it looks like these guys aren't really being productive, but I really believe it's the system and it's going to cause a player revolt. Because if I can see it and I don't play ball, I just watch, games and read reports and then make my own assessment. Then people who are in the throes of the league, players, and players know other players and they connect and they work out in the off season, they talk. So when you look at every big signing or major free agent they try to bring in, they've only hit one. That's Marcus Williams, and then I guess Morgan Moses. But I don't know if his market was as big. So that's my take for today. I want you to pay attention. Pay attention to um, what I'm calling a player revolt. Pay attention as you see um, NFL free agency come up, right? Now, Lamar Jackson's free agency tag, I'm gonna hit him real quick. His free agency tag is going to be worth upwards of $48 million, probably, because if the cap goes up. But you see if he signs that guaranteed $48 million. You see now of course that's 1 year of money that was more than his whole career thus far. Guaranteed money. But we'll see if he signs it. And another note real quick, players are watching. Players are watching how they handle Lamar Jackson. And if they don't handle Lamar Jackson correctly, you're going to see a lot more players say no to the Ravens. And you may even see some say, I want out of the organization. This is the GM. I'm Leon Boulanger. Thanks for watching.